Hey, there's a nice little remedy for you. There's a whole lot more to go here on that old Coyote Medicine Show we call Spring Creek, don't you know? From the beginning, man. I'm telling you, it's fresh as a newborn baby, man. And just as bright as brilliant, too, man, as we get all these rock stars and musicians up here to perform, to give their very best, so your heart can pass its own little test and realize what's going on there inside of your chest. That's the whole of creation. That's the whole of your existence and all the existence around you, and your experience in it, which is created in the great beyonder, which is not so beyond us anymore now, is it, man? Seems like the living and the dead are drawing closer all the time, because the dead are living and the living been dead, but now they're coming back to life, man. We're beginning to realize our true nature, our true identity, and as we do, man, these worlds merge, meld together. And baby, it changes the way we do things here quite severely, man. You want to get a little more? You better tune into this Coyote Medicine Show we call Spring Creek, don't you know? Day after day, Monday through Friday, from 8 to 11 in the Mountain Time Zone, from 10 a.m. there in the Eastern Time Zone, from around 3 p.m. there in the UK, and maybe it's 3 a.m. the next day over there in Australia, I'm not sure. Get into a time converter. Their free service on the internet. Just Google it, man. Get your time converter, enter 8 a.m. Mountain Time, and it'll give you your local time with the click of a flick, okay? And there you'll know what time to be in this reality, because babies, we're here for you day after day. I like it when you come out to play like you have today. You know, right from the beginning. I never could understand, you know, here on the Hazy Radio Network with Grandpa Coyote, Obi-Wan Kenobi, our whole spaceship crew, and lovely little angels like you tuning in too. Baby, we got it on, and we're going to keep it on today. No matter what we may disagree upon, see? Disagreements are there so that we can work them out, not that so we can hold a tight space and say, no, I ain't giving in. Baby, there's always a way to work it out some way. Always, no matter what the disagreement is. There is agreement in the disagreement. Do you see that? Because that means it's a subject matter that both parties, let's say there's just two right now, are concerned about. One sees it one way and one sees it another, and therefore their ideas of outcomes and how to get there might be slightly different, might be vastly different. But darlings, that doesn't mean we're different at all. It just means we're both concerned. When you can recognize that, then you got the common ground. Then you got something to build on. See, humanity has been taught to fight. And that's our programming. You know, fight back. Weaken yourself. Fight. Weaken yourself. Well, babies, you know, I've had a lifetime of fight. And I learned quite some time ago, 25, 30 years ago, to give up that fight. Though the base essence of it still remains to a certain extent, because there's no way I can give up and give in to a reality that's cruel, and that practices cruelty as a matter of routine, takes property away from people because they can't pay their fees, can't pay their dues, can't pay their taxes, etc., you know. I mean, darlings, there's always a way to work it out. But we've got to, get over this idea that we need to be regulated because we disagree. That's silly. Disagreement is a movement together. Two parties are concerned about the same thing. They have a common interest. And that's where you need to build, is in the common interest, not in the differences. The differences can be worked out if the common interest is focused upon. And in fact, you'll find there really isn't a difference. You just had one idea about it, and this other party had another idea about it, and it didn't necessarily go together now, did it? Yet it comes together when you focus on the common energy. You both have a great concern about a certain area in the life that you're living that affects you both. You see, and that's where you need to focus. You start right there, where the reality is, not the untruthful. The untruthful is the disagreement. The reality is the base agreement. We are concerned. Now, for example, we got this little property owners association, which is a house owners association, a homeowners association, kind of fraudulent thing here in the Crestonia area that's been seeking to assert big brother-like attitudes over us. I mean, they'll even hire cranes and shit to come and remove somebody's illegal residence from their property, or at least what they consider illegal. They never gave these folks a real chance yet. But anyhow, everybody that lives here, that wants to live here, wants to buy in here, wants a reasonable way to live. One that's not too expensive, but's real and right and fair to everyone. And instead, we've got a structure that puts some people in power over others, that allows a lot of corruption to creep in. Who knows what form that's taken. I would definitely like to see some audits on the POA here in Crestonia, the Baca Grande, and on the water department that goes with the POA, which is a whole separate division. But they're both, from my outside view, looking like they're full of corruption, that, you know, some people are treated a little better than others, and sometimes for obvious reasons. You know, might be somebody's getting a little payoff in the background. Who knows? I know it's real common, especially like when it comes to municipal chems in the waters. There's lots of payoffs there. Anytime you're dealing with governmental contracting on any level, there's plenty of room for corruption, and mostly the corruption is snuck in and taken over and doesn't want to let it go. So we got this POA that's gone hog wild on the millions and millions of dollars in fees it collects every year, and doesn't give a damn thing back to the people except grief. Well, if you try to work with them, they might try to work with you. I've managed to do that. What little hassles I've had with them. My run-ins have been real minor compared to anybody else, I'll tell you. I've never had them remove a home or anything like that, or even threaten to, but they did put me out of business a few years back, not necessarily by their fault, but I misestimated how much of an impact the fees for the Property Owners Association and the taxes would have on me. I misestimated my budget and got myself in some trouble and lost a house. And just had to let it go. You see? But now in a fair world, such a thing would never happen. There would always be a way to work it out. There would be some way to fix it up and get it right. Instead of like just having to let go of your investment and grab what little you can of it on your way out. You see? That's just not fair, even in the 3D. No one should be like that. You know, and I'm not complaining. I've lived my life. I went into that deal with my eyes wide open. Well, I thought they were. But they were a little bit shut on the sides there, so I didn't see the side play that was going to kill me, you know. Sometimes, have you done that before, got yourself into a financial situation that's just impossible? You know, you thought you were going to make more money. You thought there would be more money, etc. Only there ain't. And what do, man? You get painted into a corner. You get tied up and you lose your home. It's crazy, see? But what we should recognize is that no one should lose a home. Everyone should be entitled to a home. And if there's some way to work it out. Now, if somebody got invalidated by sickness or something and they're disabled now and can't make their payments, well, there's another room for compassion. We could take these millions of bucks worth of fees that are just basically going to waste, and we could put them to good use by aiding and assisting others in maintaining their home when they're in less than an ideal situation, you know. Now, back in my situation, it wasn't physicality that put me out of business. It was just misestimation as to the costs it was going to take to maintain a home there. You know, it cost me almost $2,000 a month just to keep that place alive. And that was just the starter. Then I had to have another $2,000 or so to live on because I had a bit of a family and so on and so forth, you know. Wow. I tell you, you can certainly get yourself in deep. Innocently so, but you can certainly get yourself in deep. You know, myself, I'm at peace about all that. I've just let it go, and I don't look for any high return on the investment because it's gone, you know, and I'll just have to worry about it another time, another way, another day. And I'm just waiting it out to see what happens here. Sometimes I want to completely abandon Crestonia because there are some real pigheads here that focus on the disagreement rather than the agreement, see. There is one thing that the POA represents in an idealistic sense, and that is that we all want a good area to live in that's clean and pristine and beautiful. We don't want to see the environment harmed here. We don't want to see people growing pigs in their backyard, for example. Things like that. But at the same time, it's questionable whether we should ever have a POA because it's done the opposite of what its intention was. Its intention was, you know, to have a pristine place and hold property values in a good way. Well, it doesn't work. And you can't big brother people into a cooperative situation unless, of course, you're willing to step out of big brother and not be big brother but be big mother. Big mother says, I would like you to do it this way. However, within these parameters, you can do it this way. You can do it any old way you want as long as it, you know, gets approval, blah, blah, blah. BS. We have unique architecture here and all kinds of it. And many houses that in other areas would not be welcome have been welcomed here. Dome homes, for example, and all kinds of radical architecture, mostly, you know, trying to capture the natural energies of the sun and the earth and keep the place warm without spending a lot of money doing it, etc. So there's some real geniuses here that have put forth some really interesting aspects of housing. But here's another little area of disagreement. You got to construct a minimum of 900 square feet on a lot here if you're going to build, which is outright ridiculous these days when the trend is to a smaller home, a more efficient home, which would make things affordable so people wouldn't get into positions like I did a few years back where it's possible to lose a home, you know. Part of that, too, was my own ineptitude with the legal system. I don't have much respect for it, you know, and it's really difficult for me to work in that area. That's why I don't do the common law thing and stuff. I know it backwards and forwards, but baby, I'm not going into the king's court and trying to convince the king that he's a yahoo and he needs to get out of our way so we can be free. I think the way to be it is just to be free. We disband things like the POA. Finally, there is a petition here in Crestonia to disband the POA because apparently they've been operating illegally since the year 2000. For 17 years, they perpetuated a fraud upon us. So some of us are entitled to some pretty large refunds, you know, and I'm going to get what I can and everybody else too when it does disband. But see, I'm focusing on the common area, what the POA was established for in the first place, which is essentially to preserve the territory by getting people to comply. You see, only I don't agree with Big Brother and strong-arm tactics. That's not working and never will. Haven't humans learned that the more you fight, the more you fail? The weaker you get, and then you go and fight just like we did with Germany. We go over there and fight the hell out of them to kill this thing called Nazism, and guess what? What do you think's going on today? Has it come back around to bite us on the yahoo or what? It sure as hell has, see? You know, you got to give up the fight if you're going to win here. If you're going to be free, the first thing you got to do is give up the fight. Especially the one inside of yourself that says, I will be good. No, I won't. I will be bad. You know, etc. Whatever it is, whatever division you're feeling inside. You got to get yourself to a peaceful place like Crestonia and do a little work on the inside so you'll be a lot more shinier on the outside and a lot more gathered together. See? And then we've got people that are centered in their true self. true self, not a selfish self, not an empty, greedy little piece of shit that's got to have mo, but one that's satisfied and content with what it has and wants to see other people have at least that much, if not more, and works actively toward it. See, that's how I try to be in the 3D. I put my conscious presence to any problem that I see, and there's always the visible common ground. There is a visible solution there. For example, with the POA, we can just let them go away. Everybody's signing a petition now to disband them. But as we do, we ought to disband the town council down in Crestone too, and just put this together as a common community with no regulations. Just be decent to one another. That's the only thing. And that's all we really need. We don't need a bunch of people telling us how to live or how to paint our house or what color it should be or anything like that. Shoot, variety is the spice of life, you know. As long as you're building something that looks half decent, why not? You know, and why have regulations at all? Who cares if it's half decent? You see, but it will be, because when you form yourself just as a collective, then you're reflecting the true reality that we live in, you see. A collective being an association of hearts that are working together towards a common thing, a common goal, if you want to call it that, or a common interest. And that everyone has their heart in and no one has their ass in. So no one's being grumpy about it, and those that are grumpy, just get out of the way. Go be grumpy by yourselves. We don't need you here. We don't want you here. You see? That attitude, anyway. You, of course, as a person, we respect you highly, and if you need to live here, live here. And if you need to be ornery by yourself. Go yell at the mirror. Tell that fella or girl how bad they've been and how bad they gotta be, you know, etc. You know, just play it out by yourself. Work it out by yourself. Understand that we have a common interest automatically, just in the area that we live in, and just in the way that we live. That we are the new revolution in this reality, Crestonia and other places like it, where people of a common interest, which for the most part is spirit here, but of a common interest, a common heart, gather together to create community. Of course, as time goes on, we're going to remember how it is that we construct homes and we don't have to hire contractors anymore, etc. We can dream our home into being with the power of our heart, with the power of creation, the mother love. The more unified you get inside, each one of us that is, then the more the reality can begin to demonstrate itself with more force and effect, see? So in a way, the POA and the town council already have gone away, just because people don't like them. And we don't need Big Brother telling us what to do, or Big Mother, or anybody else, any other symbolism you want to use with it. You know, this area has a way, in case you haven't noticed, of defining itself. And some people can come here and settle right in. The town opens its arms to them, and away we go. Other people come here, and they can hardly stand the energy, let alone the environment. And they bitch and moan about everything, and after a while, they're gone. Because this place don't like them. You know, you got to have a certain vibe. You got to have a little something going on here that's in tune with the resonation of everybody else in order that you fit in. And if you don't got that, you aren't going to fit in. This is one of those kind of places. And it's small enough that you see this all the time. People coming and going. People last a year, last 6 months, last 12 months, last 14 months, you know, whatever, 2 years. That's about the max for the really wussy ones, the ones that really aren't in the vibe. And they're really stubborn ones, that kind. But, you know, it doesn't have to be a bar scene. It doesn't have to be a brawl just because people aren't in agreement with the energy of the land. The land takes care of that automatically. And that's our real POA. Is the energy of the land itself. The same thing that drew all of us here by mostly mysterious circumstances. There's not a party in this town that doesn't have a story about how they got found here and how they got brought around here. Some people come to visit for a day and stay forever. Others, well, they can't quite manage it because they aren't in agreement with the energy. So they go somewhere else where the energy is more agreeable to them. You see? And automatically the earth defines us and brings us together with more what I would call familiar energies. Energies that are closer in a human form to what we are, you see? And that gives us a common basis to work things out. And on that basis alone, I have complete faith in the Kingdom of Crestonia, the Saguache County as we call it, of working it out and making it right for everyone by allowing the people to be free, to build what they want, to do what they want, to live like they want. I mean, let's really make this what we're supposed to be. There never has been freedom in this country despite all the bullshit reality that has been given to us. All of us have been enslaved one way or another, mostly by the money aspect of things, but it goes way beyond that too. There's all kinds of slavery here, and everyone becomes a slave one way or another, to a certain energy one way or another. So it's all about throwing off the shackles of slavery and finding freedom. And that's what little struggles like this that are going on here in the Crestonia area are all about. But again, I point out that everyone concerned here just wants Crestonia to be beautiful and pristine and stay that way. That's all. And they want everybody to get along, too. Well, some folks don't. Some folks think that fighting is the only way. But these are the weakest of our population here, and these are the ones that need the most help. So we send the most love their way. For now, because we got to bring them around if we're going to get something done here. Because we're all in this together, and therefore we all need to realize the collective nature of our heart, the family nature of our heart, and get ourselves back together again in that way. And everything will be beautiful here. No one has to worry about losing power or gaining power or being this or being that. We just take care of one another. When there's a need arising, we're taken care of. We've already got stuff like this in place here. Little organizations that do help, and so on and so forth. Just takes a little more expansion on that idea. A little less disagreement, a little more working it out. And we're going to have it, babies. I think Crestone and Crestonia, as I call it, the Kingdom of Crestonia, will become an exemplary place once we let go of all the restrictions we have placed on ourselves and agreed to when we bought in here, you see? Different way in the reality, man. Recognize the common interest and build on that. Don't focus on the disagreements. All they are really is mechanics, mechanical things that we're trying to restructure the reality with. When in fact, it'll structure itself if you just let it do it. Quite naturally, too. We've all seen this place define people. We've all seen it. Like I say, some people just aren't in a space where they can stand this place, where they can stand the energy of it. You got to be ready to move. It's very highly spiritual here, so to speak. In other words, there's a vibe here in the land itself that encourages honesty. For example, when I first came here, talk about lose everything, I got a divorce right away, too. Couldn't be helped. She and I weren't living a very honest life. And it was fragile to start with, and this place just refined us right away from one another. Yet she's a good person, and she's found a life for herself. I'm a good person. I found a life for myself. And everything's going great, going the way it should. Whatever that is. Doesn't mean we don't have our little difficulties, our little disagreements with the world, the illnesses that come around, sometimes stuff like that. You got to deal with life. But life keeps pointing you back to one thing, and one thing only, and that's your heart, your common heart. The heart that is common with everyone else that lives here. Now, some vibrationally are a little closer to you than others, and these are the ones in this reassemblage of the earth that you're going to be drawn to. Crestone is just a beginning point, an example of what can be. If you just let go, set yourselves free, set your neighbors free, and don't restrict yourself in any way. Now that doesn't mean go out and create harms. Hell no. If you harm someone, well, you got a cause against you. And something's going to be done about it. But as long as there's no harm, as long as you're reeling with the feeling of the heart, everything's going to go swell, and everybody's going to get their little house built, whatever it is they dream of, and everybody's going to have it just right. And get to live in a very enlightened and beautiful place because of it. Yeah, it's raw and it's ruggedy, and you got to be ready for the Wild West here, both in the human being and in the animal creatures that surround us. You know, this can be a highly disagreeable place to life itself. For example, we get mosquitoes in the springtime, and they last clear till mid to late summer, and there's just hordes of them usually. It's torment to even be outdoors at times, and so you stay in during that time when the weather's beautiful, but you are restricted by the hordes of mosquitoes, for example. Then there's the bears. The bears were real hungry this year because there was a late frost, and most of the berries and stuff that they would usually eat didn't come up this year. They got froze out. So now the bears come down and start raiding the houses, you know. They're not very afraid of people either. And people here coming from the cities where they've never encountered the wild don't always know what to do about it. But little by little, we're figuring it out. I had a little chat with a bear a while back, and I think there's some understanding between us. It's just the bear is like more of a dominating energy, and it don't like taking no for an answer. If it smells something good, it's going to go after it if it possibly can, see? So we're dealing with issues like this all the time. But we don't kill our bears out here. Unless, of course, they're a direct threat to your life or something. But outside of that, we don't kill our bears here. You know, we tolerate their indulgences, and we try to work around their appetites, you know, get bear-proof containers and so on and so forth, so that we can all get along and live peacefully with the nature and the people that surround us. That's the goal of a place like this, is to establish a peaceful existence for all. And the only way that can be is if everybody lives in freedom. And as long as you're not creating a harm to another, you are left alone pretty much by the reality around you. No one's coming to put a paper on your door and say, oh, your windows are the wrong size, you better change them out, etc. None of that crap's going on. And people aren't criticizing you when you go into town. Oh, you've been talking so foul lately, etc. Whatever it is. People have their way of holding judgment on one another. But this is how we help them get over it. By living in a peaceful place ourselves. By resolving on the inside that which causes so much conflict on the outside. In other words, getting ourselves back together as a singular whole presence. And there ain't nothing like Crestonia to help you do that. If you're ready for it, baby. It takes some readiness now. And some steadiness. And a whole lot of understanding. And then you won't be fighting your neighbors. You won't be fighting your friends. You won't be fighting the government. You won't be fighting anybody. Because all of those things become non-existent factors in your life. They exist no more. Because you have eliminated all conflict from inside of yourself. And therefore the conflict on the outside of yourself resolves away too.